Okay, so then you will hear 7 personal stories of people who are peace builders, and then we managed to gather the stories from all over the Europe. So they are like not regionally focused. I think you will hear the stories from diversity of regions, which could be also something nice for you because maybe with some of them you can also identify or later on also connect with the people who will be storytellers. So first of all, I wanted to say hello to all of the speakers because then today we will have as a speaker Jorge, who is going to represent the Youth Peace Ambassadors Network. Then we have also Nevena, who is going to represent local peace and also tell her story from her local community in Leposavic in Kosovo. Then we also have Gvantsa, who will also tell her story about the follow-up. And then we also have Anush, Genti, Bukce, and Krisis, who will tell her stories as also a little bit facilitators of the Youth Peace Camp. The stories, all of them, they will have thematic theme. But before we will go and listen to those stories, I also wanted to have a quick checkup with you. So I wanted to invite you, we can go one by one by the list, no? To tell us quickly one word. Okay, your name, obviously, and one word of let me think of what did you learn in the last week. It's a challenge because it's only one word. You cannot go for all the sentence, just one word. It can be a subject, or it can be a word, or it can be your feeling. Okay, so we will start again with Alexandrina because we are first on the list.
Hi, I guess my...
Why we cannot hear you?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I guess my only one word would be communication.
Thank you, Alexandrina. Okay. Altin?
Hi there. So I came to know the first time about UN 2250.
Okay, so UN 2250. Remember, just one word. So we say Altin UN 2250. Okay.
Okay.
Anna? Thank you.
Conflict.
Thank you, Anna. Anna Maria?
Inspiration.
Then we have Anastasia.
My name is Anastasia, and my word is opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, Anush.
Sorry, my mic was off. Anush, empathy.
Thank you. Then we have Bukce.
Bukce, digitalization.
Oh, thank you. And Daria?
It's working. Daria, and mine would be impact.
Thank you. Then we have Dolway, which is Chrissy actually, no? No, sorry. Okay, then that person can tell also later on. Then we have Exona.
Perspectives.
Thank you. Then we have Elena.
Hello. Sorry, I couldn't heard what was the question.
One word. What did you learn in the last week?
One word. Listening and understanding.
Thank you. Okay.
Only listening.
Thank you. Then we have Gayane.
The thing I learned, I think, is tolerance.
Thank you. Then we have Georgetta.
Willingness.
Thank you. Gvantsa.
Team spirit.
And then thank you, Hilmi.
Hi, passion.
Thank you very much. Then we have Irina.
Youth.
Can you repeat, Irina?
Okay. One word is change.
Change. Thank you. Okay. Then we have Jorge. Jorge, can you hear us?
Yes, now?
Yes, now you
Can you
unmute
repeat
yourself.
that?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Sorry, I had some problems. I feel inspired also.
Thank you. Okay, now Julia.
Networking.
Thank you. And Laszlo?
Activism.
Thank you. And Lisa?
Maybe it's inspiration.
Thank you, Lisa. Then we have Leo. Leo. Okay, Leo, you can also share on the chat or later on. Then we have Mac. Okay, then Mac and Leo you can share later on. Then we also have Maria.
I think bridges.
Thank you. Then we have Mariam. Mariam Shuluki first.
Hi, it's me. Great. For me, it should be integration.
Thank you, Mariam. And now we have Mariami.
Good morning. The one word would be peace building.
Thank you very much. Then Murat.
Hi, everybody. For me, it's non-violence.
Thank you. Then we have Naira.
Cultures.
Thank you. Then we have Nevena.
I have conflicts here, but okay, I would say digitalization.
Thank you. We have also Nane, who just joined. Nane, would you like to tell us what's the one word that you learned in the last week?
I think that it's empathy.
Empathy. Okay. Then we have Olga.
My word would be contribution.
Thank you. Then we have Ranim. Okay. Ranim, you can take your time, also share on the chat. Then we have Ruxanda.
Hello, everybody. Ruxanda, and I would say confidence.
Thank you. Then we have also Soso.
Hello, I'm Soso, and my word would be perspectives.
Thank you. And then we have Tamar.
Hello, I'm Tamar, and my word is compass.
Oh, thank you. And then we have Zulfia.
Yes. Hi, my word will be networking.
Okay, thank you very much everyone for sharing. I think it's also nice to have this round of check-ins in the morning so that also our speakers know you a little bit and they will know to whom they are sharing their stories. So that could be also important. Is there anyone who didn't share and then still would like to add your one word of the learning of last week? You can also share on the chat, so let's do it this way. If you would like to share it, then the chat is yours. Okay, thank you, Anaid. I see that you are sharing peace. So let's keep this conversation for the chat. And then I would say that now we can smoothly move to hearing the stories of the peace builders for today. So as I told you, we will have 7 of the speakers, and then each of them, they would tell you their story, answering to the different question. So we will start with listening to the story of Jorge Aguado Sanchez, who is a board member of the Youth Peace Ambassadors Network. So Jorge, the floor is yours, and you can also share the question that you will be answering.
Thank you. Well, buenos días a todos y a todas buenos días. Good morning to all. Super happy to be here. I mean, I feel sometimes a little bit nervous when I'm on this kind of chats and calls because it's super nice always to share ideas. And well, I'm super happy to join you today. So thank you for having me. To be honest with you, Agatha, I don't have the question in front of me. but it was some kind of, what kind of activity, peace building activity? You want to share for me, please?
Yes, it's a life-changing moment that happened to you during peace building activity. So life-changing moment that happened to you during peace building activity.
Thank you. Yes, it was that one. So for answering this one, first I want to say that I hear you, no? In this morning, I hear your words, and it's super nice to see that you have willingness, team spirit, well-being, peace, you are inspired, the integration, more peace building, and I also heard non-violence. And for me, one of these activities was non-violent communication, because that changed a little bit my mind and life. And I want to tell you why. I heard that some of you had this activity on non-violent communication, no? I see some heads saying yes. Awesome. So for me, the first time I had contact with this approach, the NVC, was when I visit the Council of Europe, the Youth Center in Budapest. And I mean, I was surrounded by young people willing to learn, but I was there thinking, like, what's all this about? It was the first time that I was in a peace building activity, or let's say training. And I end up myself in Hungary there, looking at people and hearing about this approach to life. And for me, nonviolent communication represented lots of the things I used to do in my life that finally I could put name to. I don't know if it happens sometimes to you that you are doing something people don't understand, but you cannot name it, but you keep doing it. Can be part of the activism, no, of the peace activism, that you are doing things, but people is like, you should not do that, but you don't know why you are doing it, no? And nonviolent communication was for me one of these key moments, because I could understand that the way I used to talk to people was not in a very jackal way, no, in a bad way, was trying to understand them, to create bridges between us. And yeah, well, it represented a lot. And even it gave me the position to see the young people next to me as my inspirations, no? Because in non-violence, we have the inspiration of Martin Luther King or Gandhi, but one was in United States and the other one in India. So my reference, my local reference, became these young people, no? And it's super nice because after this, the trainers in this training course that was done by Youth Peace Ambassadors Network, along with the Council of Europe, they asked us to create a project. And this was my second moment in my life when something changed. And we created a project about no hate speech. And when we gathered the people, there were people interested in it. And well, we had the support for doing this by the network. And this is when I started to admire the Youth Peace Ambassadors Network. Did you hear about Youth Peace Ambassadors Network before? See, I see that, yes, awesome. So, well, with this project, I entered into this network. I mean, we ran it 2 years ago in December, and I went from the sphere of being a participant to be a trainer. And I always tell the people that sometimes in your head, no, you have this idea and you want to make it happen. And you are thinking, oh, but this idea is going to be so good for changing my local perspective, to change my friends, to change the minorities. No, so, but there's a problem that sometimes we don't know what is the path to take. Like, what should I do? What's the next step? To whom I need to tell this project? No, it's good for family and friends, and it happened to me a lot that I put these projects, what we say in my house, we put them in the box. So they are in the box, waiting for something to happen, and this never happens. So, so for me, this project the understanding that there are young people willing to help me to bring these projects on live, it was such an aha moment, because I saw that my ideas could become something. And this was thanks to the support of other young people who knew how to bring this project from the idea to the big truth, no, like to make it happen. And well, I saw the power of projects. I saw the power of young people, and even it's funny because these projects, we always bring nonviolent communication, and I think I've been in the training of nonviolent communication 8 times. So I have my personal record of this training. And for me, what it changed also is that it's not that we started to do things, but also I started to learn more. It's not only as a participant, but as a trainer, you can learn too, and a lot, because you understand how people think, the difference of cultures, the difficulties of people to bring. I remember we wanted to bring people from Kosovo once to Spain, and because Kosovo is not, it's only, how to say, it's, well, by the UN, no?
It's
not recognized by Spain. Yeah, thank you, Agata. It's not recognized by Spain. We needed to move the world to understand the embassies and all this bureaucracy that, for me, I'm not very much liking it. But, well, we managed at the end to bring them and to have them with us, no? So, and well, basically, I want just to end up by saying that I joined the Youth Peace Ambassadors Network as a member, and what became people that I was surrounded in Budapest, they became what I say that they are my family, no? I think that we are such a cool network of young peace builders, and well, I want to say that I see here some people also who are part of the network, and I'm super happy that they could join moments like this one, no? The Youth Peace Week. And they are part of my family. They are friends that when I see, it's like these friends of yours that maybe they are far away, but when you see them again, it's like no time has passed. So, well, I hope you have this feeling too sometimes. So for me, it was like this. And it's super nice because we are like-minded. We like to change things from local perspectives, no? And I think that people are so creative that I'm continuously learning from them. And well, more on the Youth Peace Ambassadors. I don't know if you know that Youth Peace Ambassadors Network was a project done by the Youth Department of the Council of Europe. And indeed, they support us a lot. But then there was a moment when Youth Peace Ambassadors went through his own path, and now it's driven by young people. So now we are the decision makers in this network. We ask ourselves what we want to achieve and what are the next steps and how we can keep this activism in peace and human rights with training young people. So to keep inspiring and to keep opening the eyes to them. And well, this is how I ended after 2 years being board member. And we did our elections. And I'm super happy because from the bottom level, from the local level where we started to work, where I started to work, like doing trainings, I also went up in the way that for me it's not only local but also global, because now also thanks to the Youth Peace Ambassadors, I'm part of the Advisory Council on Youth of the Council of Europe. And I think you met some of my colleagues. You met Sarah and Piga and Rory, no? These days. Awesome. So just to tell you that for me, what 2 years ago, I couldn't imagine that this was going to be such a big change in my life, that sometimes I have a problem in my mind because I need to think what I like more, no? Like my work because I'm also environmental activist, my work, or the peace and human rights education that I love. So finally, I decided to combine both of them and to go for both, because I think that it fulfills a lot my life. And I wanted to tell you, so just to wrap up, I wanted to tell you that even the smallest idea that you may have, it's feasible. I mean, it's super possible. And I'm sure that I'm seeing 40 people here joining us, and more people who maybe are joining us in Facebook. And I wanted to tell you that your ideas are super valuable, that they can help not only you, but also the others, the people from your local spaces, the minorities who are super willing to join, who are super willing to be part of your idea. You just need to gather your friends or join networks like the Youth Peace Ambassadors Network or our trainings. And then I can tell you that from there, it's just the beginning, no? It's like a seed that you can start to grow, and it becomes a tree, and then it becomes a forest. So I would leave it here, but I encourage you very much to be part of a peace building movement, because there's a lot to work and lots to win yet. Thank you for all.
Thank you very much, Jorge, for sharing, and also for your personal story on the peace building and how did it change your life. Yes, and then I wanted to tell you that still, if you have any questions to Jorge, you can note them down for yourself, because we will have the set of questions and time for questions at the end of the session. So now I would give a floor to Nevena, who will tell you the story on how she organized the follow-up activity in Leposavic. And yes, the question that Nevena is going to answer is also what is the local impact of our peace building actions. And Nevenka, I will be your timekeeper. So then you have 10 minutes. After 8 minutes, I will announce you that 8 minutes has passed. Okay? Thank you very much.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Agata. So good morning, everybody, and I'm super happy to see you in this number here, and I really do hope that we will have a chance to meet in person, so we organize this training in some point in Budapest or Strasbourg or somewhere else, no, on a local level. So my name is Nevena, and I will tell you I will try to give a short story of my follow-up action. So to start from, I am a Youth Peace Camp alumna, and first of all, I took part in it as a participant in 2016, and now it seems like it's been like 20 years ago, but it's just 4 years ago. And after that, I became a facilitator at the Youth Peace Camp 2017-2018. And after 2019, we got this chance from the Council of Europe to actually organize a follow-up action back home. Originally, I'm by ethnicity I'm Serbian, but I'm coming from Kosovo, and also I had this chance to organize a local activity or a training in Kosovo, and I did it in Leposavic, which is our northest municipality in Kosovo, so to say. And we did it in November last year. It was a training for 10 young people coming from Serbian and Albanian communities from Kosovo, and it took part, as I said, in Leposavic in November 2019. I always dreamed about this when I was a participant at the Youth Peace Camp for facilitator. Oh, I want to do something like this back home. Why? Because I know that this kind of activity actually changed my own life. So like from 2016 until now, what I got from the Council of Europe Youth Department and Youth Peace Camp is huge. I would need 3 hours to tell you this story, but I will not do it now. So now I will just focus on this follow-up activity, and we did it together. It was 3 of us in a team, and Laszlo also joining us, and we had, as I said, 10 participants. So basically what I saw there, it was amazing to have in my hometown Serbs and Albanians working on peace building, on reconciliation, sharing their stories from the conflict that happened 21 years ago, etc. So for me, when I saw these changes in just 5 days, scope was amazing. And I was extremely happy to see that I can do it actually in my hometown. And I was so happy and proud that I was finally able to do it, and of course I'm still thankful to the support of the Council of Europe that we got at that moment. So I think that this small follow-up and small training that we did was actually influenced people's life there, not only participants, but also local community. So how I see it in local communities, that when you have a sort of say like one community living in one place, and then you bring people coming from the so to say other conflict side, then it's always strange. And I think many times people are also afraid. And I think we also faced this situation that people arriving to Leposavic from the other community were kind of afraid, okay, what will happen? Is everything going to be fine? But at the end, everything went perfectly well, no? So I think also they had this chance to see, okay, there is Serbian municipality and we are welcome there and we can work together with Serbs on a peace building process. But also from the other side, I think it was another experience for the local community to hear Albanian language around. Also English. It's not that common to hear English in my hometown, but also Albanian. So I think it was also, so to say, breaking the stereotypes and prejudices that another community can live here at least for 5 days, no? So I think this had also this kind of impact, and but there is also another, so to say, local perspective that I would like to talk about. You know, whenever you are taking part in this kind of trainings or I don't know, study sessions, what they were, when you are meeting people from the other side of the conflict. And if I can see here, I think that we are having different conflict regions from Europe here. So it's always hard to do a follow-up, because when you go back home, people will judge you, will tell you like, hey, what are you doing with these people with whom we were in a conflict? Are you insane? Because you are betraying us, and then you will be marked as a betrayer and this kind of things. But I think there is a bigger purpose. I mean, there is always, peace is the biggest purpose, if I could say so. So I think that this is a super huge problem when you face it. But then I always say start with small steps, because they are extremely important. Tell the story to your family, tell the story to your cousins, to your best friends, and this is how you start. This is how you start to changing local community. Because yes, I am quite aware that we are all aiming big, and yes, we would like to change, I don't know, maybe not everybody, to change our governments and our politicians and like to teach them how peace should be built. But from my point of view, I really do believe in this grassroots level, and grassroots level starts with this. I will talk with my sister, with my brother, with my family. I will talk with my best friend. I will tell the story from the other side. I will break these prejudices and stereotypes that are existing. So I will actually start from my own circle, and this is how local communities starts, how the change starts in local community, I would say. So for me, this is dreaming big, changing people on my local level, not just like, oh, I will change the government and then everything is going to be fine. I don't believe in that. I do believe that we have to change people around us. And something that maybe it's also wrap up, there's a way to wrap up and to say why I also find this way the most influential one. Is there is a really cool guy whom I really like a lot. His name is John Paul Lederer. Maybe you heard of him these days. If not, I will tell you. Now 3 hours I speak. No.
God, this is the moment when I tell you you have 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes to wrap it up. Perfect. So here comes the story about John Paul Lederer. Lederer, he is a practitioner and also working a lot in academia. And he's actually working as a mediator, no? And he's a father, so to say, of a theory of reconciliation. And now he's talking about this, like, how big important are the masses, no? Usually we do believe if we have a mass of people, a really big group, then we can change everything. But then he says the following. Do you know how you make a bread? I think we all learned it these days in quarantine, and then also all these stories with Corona. I tried how to make a bread. So you need flour, you need some salt, you need water, you need a bit of sugar, I guess, you need yeast. And then he asks, okay, the smallest amount of something, of these ingredients is yeast. But yeast is the most important thing for bread to grow. So I would say, so if you have just a few people around you, if you manage to change just 2 people that are in your closest circle, you will have a chance to grow. And I truly believe in it, and I truly trust in John Paul Lederer's words, because I also managed to feel it and to do it. So from my point of view, I would say start changing the closest circle, your closest circle, and then you will see it grows. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nevena, for this inspiring last sentence, and then also mentioning as John Paul Lederer. Just to let you know, also Laszlo put his name on the chat, so if you want to read further, then it's there. And then taking it from Nevena, I would give a floor to Gvantsa, who would also tell you a little bit of her story in running the follow-up activities in her local community. But Gvantsa is going also to answer to the question how I got engaged in peace building at grassroots level. Okay, Gvantsa, I will be also your timekeeper, so after 8 minutes I will announce it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for opportunity. Thank you for having me. Good morning, the audience. Good morning, the participants and the facilitators. So I prepared for you some small presentations, so I will share my screen to you. Today, as Agata has mentioned, I will talk about follow-up actions I implement after Youth Peace Camp. First of all, when I was a participant, and later on when I was facilitator in 2018. But before I start my actual presentation, I just want to show you, of course, each of you know those people, just famous peace builders of all time who contribute toward peace. But I know a lot of peace builders in person. For instance, Nevena, who did an amazing speech as a peace builder. Jorge is peace builder. The facilitators who will present next to me, after me, are those peace builders. Those peace builders are working on in their communities, trying their best to spread the peace values. These people on this picture all of them are peace builders. Therefore, I decided to focus on while presenting the follow-up actions. I want to focus on peace building on grassroots level and how got I engaged in peace building. So when I was a participant, first of all, I hope you are all seeing the screen, right? I forgot to ask. So you see the screen, right?
Yes, Gvantsa, we see it. Yes,
Perfect.
Don't worry.
I will continue then. First of all, I want to share a story when I was participant of Youth Peace Camp 2015. I can say it was a breaking point for me to become more active in peace building. Therefore, I decided to grab my backpack and arrange some meetings with the principals of 5 villages of conflict border near South Ossetia region. So I went there and I said to the principal that I want to do some workshops with your kids. So can you please help me with this? So on voluntary basis, I went there and in 5 villages, I did some presentation as a follow-up of Youth Peace Camp. Afterwards, seeing that the children were so inspired and so motivated to engage more in peace building, I want to emphasize the fact that the kids coming from these 5 conflict borderline villages, they also contained, some of them were minorities, ethnic minorities from the conflict region. So they wanted to do more in this regard, in peace building especially. So that's how Peace Apple was born. So me, with the organization I'm currently working with, Institute for Democratic Changes, we wrote a project and applied for it in European Youth Foundation of Council of Europe. And luckily we got a grant, so we implemented 5 days.
Dear Gvantsa, I think we lost you, so...
Transformation, role of Council of Europe in peace building, etc. So now you can see the pictures of from this training course. So all of them like overcome the prejudices. They start talking about the conflict, about the peace. We used the main tool was art. So for instance, the picture you see now, it was at times when there was like a huge numbers of plane crashes. So one of the participants connected the plane to the piece together, and with a flashlight made this amazing symbol. So all of them were like so inspired by this. So also like personally me, I was so happy that we created with a team of my organization something you can touch, you can feel, and seeing the impact on youngsters, our future of the world, to see this great impact on them, it's amazing feeling. So afterwards, when I had an amazing chance to become from participants, a participant of Youth Peace Camp in 2018, I was given a chance to become a facilitator. And after this great event, after coming back, I also decided to do another project for youngsters now living in ghettos, especially built for youngsters who are internet displaced from the Abkhazia region of Georgia. So that's how Art for Inclusion was born. First of all, like first stages was like again visits to the schools of these ghettos with a participant of Youth Peace Camp 2018, and seeing the great desire and willingness from their side to be engaged more. We also applied again for the European Youth Foundation. And as a follow-up of Youth Peace Camp 2018, we created Art for Inclusion. There were 20 minors with a background of internet displaced person, and we talked about inclusion, we talked about peace, conflict transformation, how to be like an active citizen. They were like they planned follow-up actions for their fellow classmates to share all these gained values and information to them, which was acquired during the Art for Inclusion. So unfortunately, after finishing the Art for Inclusion, soon after this coronavirus pandemic started, so not all of them implemented the follow-up action, but from September we're expecting it. But 2 of them implemented, and it was amazing impact on their community as well. So those are some pictures from the training course we did for them. And as a conclusion, I also wanted to say that on the voluntary basis, if you really have a will, you can do a lot just voluntarily, and just grab a backpack and just take a flip chart and marker, and you can do a lot of them, lot. And also, like yesterday, we had a workshop sharing some tips for the seminars, or I don't know, for different for the non-formal educational tools. We shared some info about Compass. There's tickets. There's a lot of manuals you can use while organizing this kind of workshops and seminars, and be more active on the field. So after you do all of this, of course, peace will be possible, and peace is possible. And I totally encourage you to do your best with your community. And I will also I'll share the idea of the saying of Nevena when she said, "Yeah, start from your family, start from your village, start from your town." It's really possible, and each of us should all of our efforts together will make a great changes. So thank you for the opportunity again, and I think I'm good at timing. I was trying to be a little bit.
Great, Gvantsa.
I was trying to speak a little bit fast, but yeah, that's what.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You were super great on time, that's for sure. And then also thank you also for the presentation and making then your story like the creative and illustrated one. So then it's amazing to see how many things could be done on the local level. So I'm smiling to that. And then now I would like to give a floor to Anush. So Anush is going to tell you the story, as Anush is also the facilitator of the Youth Peace Camp. And then Anush will tell you the story, why should one care for peace anyway? And then Anush can also say why this question.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me fine? Okay, great. So first of all, I'm very, very excited that despite the pandemic, the Council of Europe was able to put together Youth Peace Week virtually, and that you have been able to get involved in this and participate in the program. Youth Peace Camp for me was a life-changing experience. And as Agatha said, I will answer to the question, why should people care about peace anyway? Why this question? Because my co-facilitators here as well will probably admit that when we work in the field, we get this question asked a lot when we talk about peace and peaceful coexistence, especially if we work and live in conflict-stricken regions. The answer to this question is very personal to me, and I think that each of us understands peace on their own way. I think that from the very, very early ages of our lives, when we're 7 or 8, if not earlier, we learn about war, and we're taught about the heroes who fought wars and how this brought victory to certain countries and failure to the others. And so from the very young age, from the age when a person's consciousness is still evolving, we make people, we make kids comfortable with the idea of war. And nowadays, especially in the areas where conflict is ongoing, people can bring millions of reasons why war is important. But there are very, very few of us, if any, who have the confidence and the courage to speak about peace. As Nevena mentioned very, rightly, sometimes as peace builders, we are labeled as, traitors, betrayers, etc. And it is important to be able to overcome this and overcome the fear of being judged and continue working for peace. First of all, the biggest reason for me personally wanting peace is, of course, the human beings whose lives are shattered by war. For me, there's absolutely nothing more important than the life and the rights of a human, a person that is living with us, despite of their color of skin, their age, their gender, their nationality, their ethnicity. A human being is, and their rights are what matters to me, and everyone deserves a quality life. In conflict areas, having quality life is hard, and it's hard to find justice. And war itself is highly interconnected to injustice, and it is very hard here for a person to live their life with dignity. Conflict also challenges economies. With no interstate cooperation, with constant militarization and funding for armament, we promote people having low income and living in poverty. We have a world of 7 billion people, and 1.5 billion people live in conflict. This is a huge number, and dozens of millions of people are currently forcibly displaced worldwide. And many people are now refugees, and we have children who are not dreaming, colorfully, but are dreaming for a household, they're dreaming for food, and they're dreaming for the basic needs which a person needs to have to live with dignity. And in many cases, war is one of the aspects that causes this to happen. And I personally believe that as humanity, we can do better. we all have peace and violence in us, I believe. And it is totally in our hands to decide we want to cultivate peace or we want to cultivate violence. Which one do we want to water? This is a question I have for myself. And when I'm asked this question, I can truly say that I want to water peace in me. And I believe that with our commitment to peace, we can make our surroundings better. So Youth Peace Camp has truly changed my life, and I will always give back to it, not only because I feel obliged to, because of this change in life, but also because I have found a reason for my existence, which is working for peace, be it on local level or be it bigger in the future. And I think that if we start striving for peace on a personal level, by improving ourselves and our surroundings, we will be able to make a change. So throughout, again, these 4 years after becoming a member of the Youth Peace Camp community, I was constantly asked the question, why do you care so much about peace? And at first I was very, amazed why people don't care about peace and why do they have so many reasons for war? But I'm no longer amazed when answering to this question. I answer knowingly, knowing that in conflict regions we're born and we live our lives being taught to distrust the other side. And without ever having seen a person from the other side or having communicated with them, it is logical that at first the person will not be opening their arms to welcome peace. It is in the understanding of this that keeps me motivated for peace, even if I hear thousands or millions of reasons about war. I know that in conflict-stricken countries, we are not looking at war critically, and sometimes it comes to us as the only solution to a conflict. But I think that peace is the greatest alternative to this. In the past, I used to be very disappointed when people said to me, you should not believe in peace, this is foolish of you, etc. But now I after reading, after thinking about peace, after working in this field, I got used to this and I no longer feel discouraged. And as Nevena quoted John Paul Lederer, whose book I have with me here now, I would like to read 2 sentences here from him, where he says that the key gift is this: constructive pessimism teaches us that trust is needed. This trust is needed as a reality check to assure that change is not superficial. This trust assures us that we are not dipping into promoting a cheap hope. It keeps us authentic. So I would like to conclude my speech here saying that when you walk out of this Youth Peace Week and you start working for peace, please never be discouraged by distrust, because this is innate in us. We were told to distrust, but with working for peace together, we will be able to go through this long time and make the world more peaceful, and even if not for us, then for the coming generations. So this is my experience, and I will be happy later to answer to any questions that might arrive.
Thank you very much, Anush, for your inspiring story and telling us why to care for peace anyway. And then it's amazing also to hear that you don't feel discouraged anymore, but you just have very great answer to it. So thanks for sharing that perspective. And then now I am going to give the floor to Bukce, so that Bukce also can tell her story as a Youth Peace Camp facilitator on what did the peace building taught me that I am using in my everyday life. So Bukce, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Agata, and thank you guys in prior. And I would like to take a moment for gratitude, actually, to hearing all the stories and what this week has been following, because it's been really inspiring. Everything that we witness, even though we do several things in a year's time, everything we witness is very inspiring every day. So I'm really thankful for everything this week. So I just want to start with saying that like every other human being, I wasn't born with prejudice. And I was really lucky, actually, that my family never taught me to judge people from where they are or what they look like or their ethnicity, background. It doesn't matter. They never taught me. However, sadly, as they mentioned previously, we get to educated on how to hate rather than how to love and accept. So this is how I actually formed in this idea of hate and war and what's happening. So and further, when I get to an age actually that I realize, wait a second, what's going on? Why people are teaching me how to hate people? Because this concept of the other was never clear to me until I get educated on it. So I was like, no, something is wrong. So I was really lucky that I actually had family members who were active in peace building, and I had a great role models like my cousin and my father, and then I was really inspired from them. So I was like, okay, when these people actually talk, they're really sensitive. They're more mindful and grateful and cautious with what they're saying. Their terminology, their language is more sensitive than the rest of us. So what's going on? It just opened my eyes. So I decided to make a change myself because, as we said before, the change started from myself. That's what I did, and I started getting trainings and seminars and etc. And youth peace camp actually played a big role in this for me, because when I went to the youth peace camp, I realized the world actually didn't evolve around us, and because here, when you're getting educated on what's happening in Cyprus, actually they're implementing in your head is that the only issues that exist is in here and nowhere else. So when I get to meet with amazing people, I was like, oh wow, my eyes literally opened. So I was like, okay, let's move on from what can I do. And then I learned about nonviolent communication, which taught me all about the terminology and how I talk and how to empathize and respect other people. So I thought I knew all of this. I thought I was there. I knew what I was doing. I was reading stuff and I'm like, okay, I knew it. But actually, when I was there experiencing and trying these things, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? What I have been doing? How am I hurting people without actually realizing? So I started using this nonviolent communication. I tried to implement it into my everyday life, basically. So I'm going to school, and to clarify, I actually was staying in the one side of the island and my school was at the other. So every day can you hear me? Because I'm having network issues.
Yeah, we lost you for like 2 seconds, and so the last thing that we've heard was about your school. Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Agatha. And when I was going to school, I realized that I was actually afraid of what's surrounding me and what I was saying. And then I realized maybe this empathy that I learned can change things, that this language can change things. So I started using these methodologies that I've learned, and I started to listen more. And when I say listen more, I was listening people, but I didn't know how to actively listen them. And I was actually hearing people better, and how what I was saying and coming out of my mouth was like very much more sensitive than what it was. So, and I see my life completely changing when I started this. And I was like, wow, what can this education can taught me, this non-formal education that I took, can change my life. And I'm an artist, so what I started to focus was on taking this peace building idea and started to implementing into my art. And I realized that I have a huge platform to do this, and I wasn't aware that what can I do, what impact can I put. So I started every day. I'm trying to, when I'm thinking about art or when I'm getting creative, I decided to put this into my life. So when I'm doing stuff, I'm like, okay, but I can make a change for someone else, or for people around me. It's really important for me. It changed the way Am I gone again? Sorry,
No, you got back. You were out for like 10 seconds.
Okay. So like the one thing that was the most important for me actually was how I communicate with my family and my friends. So seeing the difference and how this was happening, because at the atmosphere inside your home and with your friends, and you don't, when you're not about it, you don't see what they go through with their life, and you're like, okay, so I don't care, you know, it's like you're hurting me, so I'm gonna hurt you back, or whatever it is. So you don't think about like this phase that walking in someone else's shoe. Then I started doing that, and that was, I think, the main thing that changed my life. Because yes, I am trying to do these big projects, maybe small ones, but every day is just you have this lifelong conflict with people basically. And then how I implemented this was a peak point, let's say, in my life, which is really important for me. And yeah, I learned how to break my stereotypes. So now when I meet with people, I'm like, I don't look for how old they are or where they're from or what their gender or like or their age or whatever it is. The first thing is I try to get to know people. And if people were asking me one time I was working with some teens, and they're asking me, you can see where they're from, right? Because there were 2 different communities. And that moment I just realized that, I mean, it might be obvious to you, but I work so hard to break these stereotypes. I just realized that I don't actually get where these people are from, because I try to get to know them on a different level, not focusing on what they've been or what they've been doing or where they're from. And this is really important for me, and I think it is really important. It will be really important if you try to implement this into your everyday life. Don't get me wrong, I am a human. Sometimes things slip through my mouth, and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that. So I try to put like little reminders to myself, and I actually have a photo from Youth Peace Camp next to my bed. So every morning when I wake up, it just reminds me that, okay, remember this. Or if I did something bad the previous day, I'm like, heck, apologize. And I actually have pride in apologizing now, which is a really important thing, I think. And I try to not look back in the history to make decisions and not to rely on the history, because what happened can, you know, I don't let what happened affect basically what's happening now, because that's really important. And I think I owe all of this to peace building, because all of this training, the youth peace camp, all of this is like, it's weird because you think you go there, you will learn things, and what will happen is that you start making these projects, or, you know, you work with organizations and this and that. But actually what happens is that you clear your mind and you refresh your brain. And at the point you're like, oh God, I changed myself, which is the most important thing. Now I can change what's around me. And that's a highlight for me. And I hope when this is all over, many of you can take this from this Youth Peace Week, and whatever you do further in your life, you'll be like, oh, thank you, like this happened, so I can do this now, and have these little reminders. And just to give you maybe a tip, that because I'm a very physical human being, I need like physical things to remind me what I've been going through. Even just to drink water, I have to carry a bottle. So that's what I do with the way I communicate. I carry this. These are actually notes from Youth Peace Camp. From the last day, I always carry them in my bag, and I'm like, if I feel like really bad, or if I feel very angry, just to like stay myself, be calm, I just look at them, and you know, it brightens up my day, and I'm like, okay, just focus on what you're doing and be careful, don't hurt other people because you're hurt, and so on. So yeah, that's it, and I hope you will get something from this, and I'm happy to answer like this optimistic questions if you have anything to ask.
Thank you very much, Bookshare, for your story and showing us that, as you said, that you are human, but you also work hard and to fight the stereotypes, and then also to keep on using empathy and NVC on your everyday basis. So it's amazing. And then, yes, I mean, remember, if you have some question to Bukcha or any other of the speakers, please note it down so at the end of this session we can also ask it. And then I would pass the floor to Genti, because Genti also, after Youth Peace Camp facilitator, he would tell you his story about informal peace work in the local context. So Genti, the floor is yours.
Hello. Okay, so I prepared something yesterday, and last night I traveled. I just came home. Yeah, I want to talk about something that was in my mind all these years. I felt like I was not doing enough, you know. I felt like I had to be part of some organization or some bigger network to actually do something, which at some point it's also true, because these platforms like make you reach more people. But I want to, I don't know if you need that, but I feel like we all need to discuss about the importance of actually this informal peace work, like this every day, what we do every day, you know. For me, this, I finally kind of understood that this is the most important for me, the most important thing for me, because you know, I live in a divided city between. So I'm from Kosovo, for those who don't know. So I'm Albanian, so I live in the south of a city that is populated by Albanians, and it's divided by a river, and in the north live Serbs, and they barely communicate. But for me, it was like, why? It was always a question, why should it be like this? And who should change it? Or I don't know. And then you kind of try to explore on your own, and then hidden. I feel like all the peace builders stories are kind of similar. It feels like we are part of something big, of some big community that kind of keeps us behind, like, you know. And then somehow we manage to escape, and then reach another level maybe of understanding peace, and then. So yeah, this happened also to me, and the stories are so similar to what I heard from you, from the others. And I mean, I think everyone who lives in these kind of societies that are in conflicts, they, in one way or another, they will have to go through this, like facing the community, facing your surrounding, and then, yeah, you know, somehow you get the wings and start to fly. Yeah, the same happened to me in Mitrovica. I somehow started meeting Serbs, you know, and it was like a big deal. Me, a high schooler, to meet Serbs, it was like, in Mitrovica, it still is kind of a taboo. Like you are a traitor. So basically, I was not telling anyone that I was meeting Serbs. I was like, you know. Also, I know my Serbian friends, they also did not tell anyone. It was like, we just pretended that everything is fine. But yeah, years passed, and then somehow you bring more people from the other side to the other side, and you don't do that intentionally, you know. It just, you know, hey, let's go there. Oh, let's buy this. You know, and for me, I realized that, okay, at some point I was really going freely with so many people, and like now I go and party in the north, and sometimes I meet Nevena there, and I don't know, and Nevena comes sometimes to the south, and it's just like, it felt like I was doing nothing, you know. All this time, it felt like I was doing nothing, and now it is something, you know. It is something. There are so many people crossing and going, and okay, it's not like perfect. It's still so much work to be done, but for me, For me, that, I also, first day when we had expectations, I was part of a group and I was taking notes, and one of the participants said, yeah, I would like to learn more because I want to do more. I want to do something in real life. She already is doing a lot of stuff right now. So being here, being interested in peace building, exploring herself. I mean, wow, when I reached this, it took me years to reach this level, to be part of a training, to take the courage to do something, to initiate something, to explore, to learn, to be open, to open your mind. And I just want to say, like, even if you are not part of something, even if you, I don't know, you don't have your own organization. In Kosovo, everyone creates their own organization. For me, it's, I don't know, which I understand sometimes, because many organizations don't actually believe in peace. It's just more, work, kind of, a job. But for me, when you believe, you don't need really to, it's not, I mean, you need, but it's not necessarily to use a platform. It just be yourself, behave like that. As long as you believe, it's never gonna be an extra thing to do. It's gonna be your life, it's gonna be, you will react when you see injustice. It's something that comes naturally to you, becomes part of you. And so informal peace work, this we don't talk about. This is what we don't talk about. This is what we don't appreciate. We all the time say, yeah, non-formal education is so important. This is non-formal education, what we are doing right now, and it's so important. I agree. But informal education, no one kind of talks about that, and for me, it's so precious. Precious, which is not so good. But yeah, like, and each of you, like, each of us, if you can do something individually, like, well, the non-formal education is for this, basically, to make us work informally, to become activists, to become fighters for peace, and, like, well, fighters, I don't like also that word, but to lobby for justice. And so, yeah, sometimes you reach the informal, you become informal peace worker before you having a non-formal education. So, sometimes it's amazing that, because it comes from you, from your inside, the curiosity to learn and to know. And yeah, not a good speaker. I don't think I have more to say. Probably I have a lot, but I'm a bit tired. But thank you very much for the space. And yeah, make questions. Very happy to be here. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Genti, and you are an amazing speaker, because I don't think all speakers have to be, like, inspirational with this in a way, like, structure speaking and so on. So it was amazing. And then, I mean, thank you for bringing here the topic of something that maybe we didn't tackle before, and actually for showing, like, yes, we don't need a huge structure actually to be peace builders in everyday life. So wow, a huge thank you for that story. And then, yes, as we said, we are open for the question which will come at the end of this session, because we still have now one more speaker. So I will give the floor to Chrissy. So Chrissy can tell her story also as the Youth Peace Camp facilitators on how I got engaged in peace building. So Chrissy, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ada. And everybody who is here with us today. My story is different. I usually don't share this story, but unless I think it will have an impact to people. So everything for me started on the 22nd of March 2014, when I met my future husband, which I didn't know it would be my future husband that time. So I participated in a conference about leadership in European University in Nicosia, in my home city. It is a bit funny because before I arrived, I went to another place. So I confused the universities and I went to another university. So I was late. I lost the introduction of that conference and I didn't know that it was a biconal event. So I didn't know that people from both sides were engaged in that conference. Let me tell you that before that day, I had no interaction with any Turkish Cypriot, with none of the other side, any person of the other side. Our conflict in Cyprus is frozen for 45 years now, almost. So I didn't even know how a Turkish Cypriot looks like. I didn't think that peacebuilding is needed anyway, or it has something to make our lives better. It had to add some value on our lives. But this guy across me, since we were working in the same team for a workshop in that conference, he was full of ideas. He was smart, elegant. When I finally learned his name, I thought he was coming from abroad. So I couldn't even think that there are people living in the other side of this tiny island. When he invited me at his club's barbecue on the other side, it was only that time I understood that he was actually coming from the other side. So that night I couldn't sleep. I was fighting with myself, with my vision, with my ethics, my culture. It wasn't a common thing to get to the other side, especially when our phones weren't working. So actually we have no connection with the other side, just kilometers, but no phone is working, no internet. So I was also thinking and I should I go and take the risk or should I stay? So I knew no one of the rest of the people they were going to that place. I had never crossed the borders. I had no idea what I would face, who I'm gonna meet with, if it's safe in a way. No phone, no nothing. I could not tell anyone, of course, where I was going, especially who I was meeting with. So I decided to go to find out my own truth about the other sides, because I had a feeling that what I knew was totally wrong. Guess what? It was totally different from what I knew. So people were normal, life was wonderful, only a checkpoint was between us. So before I realized what I was doing, I was actually getting involved in peace building. I was helping my friends on the other side with the beach cleaning, volunteer work for refugees, meeting more and more nice people every day. Before I realized, I fell in love with an amazing man, and peace building was the only way for me that time. So today, after so many fights between families, after many cries and crises and tears and pain, and many restrictions, we are finally married, and I'm happy to say that we are expecting our baby boy too. So now peace building is not a need, it's a must for us. For me personally, we want to give a better future to our little creature, our love, our everything. You know how much parents love their kids, and this is the same for us. And not only for our kid, but for all the kids of this island and the world in general. So our life, is it easy? Is it normal? No, the answer is no. Every day we have to fight something else. Every day there is a different restriction. We have our fears, we have our thoughts for what will happen in the future, which army this boy will get to. But the only way, and it's a must, as I said before, just to fight for future, to have a hope for a better future. So that's my little story. I know it's short, but that's all from me, from another perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christy, because then, yes, as you said, the story was short but super powerful. And then thank you also to share it from a very personal level. And also you said you usually don't share it unless you know it makes an impact. And then it's amazing. It was amazing to listen to you. I mean, actually, it was amazing to listen to all of you, and thanks a lot for this one. And Chrissy was just let me check on the list if I am not missing anyone. No, Chrissy was our last person to share the story, and then we still have some minutes to grab some questions, or yes, maybe you have some comments, because actually I also wanted to say that we heard 7 stories. All of them were like from different angles and perspectives, and I know maybe you have lots of things in your head. We don't have unlimited amount of time, but I wanted to encourage you, like, yes, please keep on asking questions. You can put them all on the chat, or just like put your microphone on and ask.
Agata, I think we already have a question in the chat.
Yes, okay. And Anush, I don't see it. So then if you can help me, then yes, you can you read it?
Yeah, sure. So it's from Murat, and he says, I would like to express my gratitude to every panel member for sharing their experiences. They're so inspiring. I want to ask which tools can be utilized to break stereotypes of community members in a grassroots level, because, you know, sometimes it is quite hard to impact on their violent ideas.
Thank you very much, Anush, for bringing it here. Okay, and then I want to give the floor to all of you. And so please feel free to take it and share if you have some tools or some tips how to break stereotypes on an everyday basis. You, Nevena, then go.
Maybe I will just like to answer this question, just follow up on everything we said here. For me personally, the best tool, so to say, it's getting to know the other side of the conflict, so to say, because this is something also what Genti mentioned. No, it's hard to actually break the stereotypes and prejudices when you don't know anybody, or like people that are surrounding you when they don't know anybody from the other side, so to say. So what we did with Genti also is that I had a friend who lived in the north part of this divided city, never crossed the bridge. So together with Genti and her, we crossed the bridge, and then she started going regularly to the other side because she wasn't afraid anymore to cross the bridge. So for me, this is an example, like, okay, this is what you can do. You can always take a friend of yours or somebody like who is less encouraged to meet somebody from the other side and say, hey, this is my friend, and now we can go and take a coffee from at the other side, and then you will see it's normal. People are also humans there. So for me, this is the approach. Try to bring them to the other side, so to say.
Can I also add something on it?
Yes. Go, Chrissy, and then I see Anush as well.
Okay, I would say if you cannot cross the bridge because of any restrictions or anything else, just use also social media. It doesn't need to be a hate speech towards the people you don't agree with them. It doesn't need to be a personal story of yours, but it can be a story that you heard, something good that it came to you. So use social media to share and expand and maybe start a dialogue with people that they are interested or they want to ask something.
Chrissy, and I will give the floor to Anush.
I think I don't really have the complete answer to this, but I can answer with an example from my life. In our case, we cannot cross borders. There's just no way. So my actions have been mainly on local level in my country, and I have some collaboration through different programs here and there. But on local level, I wrote my thesis on the ongoing conflict that we have here. And it was a short story that I wrote, which was challenging, the idea of war. And I was, as the narrator, I pretended to be a soldier. And the ideas came right after YPC. Everything was, all of these experiences I had lived there. And when I presented my thesis to the university, a young man stood up and he asked me, "Have you served in the army to write this?" It was just fiction. If you're writing about being a snake, you don't have to be a snake. So I was challenged and I was blamed for talking from the perspective of a soldier. And what I tried to do is just to talk about humanity. I really don't like to divide us in my conversations and in the talks I have or in the programs I participate. I put the emphasis on humanity and human rights and human rights education. So this helps me a lot in my activities.
Thank you very much, Anush. I see that we have 2 more questions. I wanted to ask if you, the panelists, would you like to add on this one, or we can go with 1 more question? The next question is like that after armed conflicts, there are huge amount of problems like war heroes, monuments, etc. So how to ignore them, but at the same somehow to honor them? So that's one more question that is coming. I see Nevena, okay, I see also Jorge and Nevena. So I will give the floor first to Jorge and then to Nevena.
Well, this is for me, well, thank you for the question. I would say just a small tips, because if not, we can go here for another speech of 30 minutes from me. I would say beware a lot always of the propaganda, no? Because when there's war heroes, when there is like all this kind of information that is coming, my question is, do you think they are heroes? So what I would suggest is not only to beware of the propaganda from both sides of a conflict or from the many sides that a conflict can have, and also I would suggest to always walk with critical thinking. So we really need to ask ourselves why they are there, why we are giving them this space, why we are making them heroes or any other kind of act that goes into these conflicts, no? So I would suggest doing a lot of critical thinking and really asking ourselves the questions of why. And then I will leave the floor to Nevena.
Thank you, Jorge. Yes, Nevena, go.
I couldn't agree more with Jorge, but to add something to this, for me, the question is why we never honor peace activists, but only, these war heroes, etc. So this is another question, but maybe what to do with this? So they are there, no? We cannot destroy these monuments, and also I think it's really hard to ignore it, no? So how I would approach it is, sometimes it's also hard, because when you are having conflicts usually from 2 sides, but it's also more. So like each side wants to honor its own hero, no? So and it can be also provocative. This is really, I think, super popular in the Balkan region. So everybody's naming airports according to somebody in order to provoke the other country that was in a conflict. So this is really common. But what I would say, what to do with all these monuments and this way to remember the war and glorify the war, is actually use it in a following way. Let's observe them as a reminder not to forget what happened during the war, not to forget not because we want to glorify it, not to forget it because we don't want to repeat it. So I wouldn't like ever in my life to see more these monuments to glorify war heroes. So I don't want to repeat what generations before have done. So this is the way how I approach this monument. This is what happened, and let it be there so we never repeat it again. This is how I would approach it.
Thank you very much, Nevena. I see, Gent, you are raising your hand, so please go.
Thank you, Agatha. Yeah, it's a pity, actually. It's a good question, because where I live, it's full of monuments, statues with a lot of guns and flags, and yeah, like, I don't know, and it's quite violent way of expressing the history, if that's the point of the monument. But something good happened this month. So many statues fell down, and so at some point, if we continue educating people and also pointing out what these statues symbolize, at some point their time will come, like they will fall down also. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I support putting down this kind of statues. So yeah, one day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I add something little to what Kenji said? If that's
Go,
okay. I actually 100% agree with like what's been said previously. I just want to pitch a little idea that we've been following here, and especially in North Cyprus, that we started to, in a way, to let's say ignore, kind of like, we obviously remember not to glorify, but not to repeat, as Nevena said, but at the same time we decide, like in the community here, people started to do street art. So rather than actually focusing on monuments that reminds you of the war or the conflict, people actually started to more focus on the street arts and the people and what these images are actually representing. And there are my network, sorry.
Have you back, Bukce. We
Can
have
you hear
you
me?
back. Yes, we have you
Okay,
back.
perfect. The first thing that people actually focuses on is not the monuments and what this reminds, but actually it's the artworks and the statues in the middle of the street that people actually get inspired and happy, rather than remembering what happened and what might happen and start questioning. So that's a good idea to maybe start a project to do some street art, or just grab your paints and go into the streets or something, but do not vandalize. I don't support vandalism. Just to put a little note.
Thank you, Bukce. Yes, that's also important feature of the peace builder, not to vandalize when bringing change. Amazing. Thank you for bringing it also to this like action level. If there is any of the speakers, I'm checking with you, but you also have to tell me, like, or maybe just put your mic on if you wanna say something. If not, we have also the question. I think it was Exona, and I see also Alexandrina, no, that was asking. So Exona, if you wanna ask.
Yes, thank you, Agata. First, sorry for not using the camera, internet connection problems. I don't have necessarily a question, but is more or less a comment for everyone that has been sharing their stories. Once I read something really important quote. It was something like, it takes years for a human being to unlearn what they have been taught. And it took me a couple of times in my work, let's say, like a little bit work that I was trying to do to basically understand this and where it actually comes from. And now hearing all these stories makes more sense, because I think I want to share gratitude and be thankful to all 7 of you who shared your story, because I think what we learned today, and I think this is amazing, that to work in peace building, it's not as important as to believe in peace. So thanks to all of you for making us believe us, and then as well others who I think will be lucky to hear your stories. that you have to believe in peace to be one of the peacemakers, let's say. So this is all I had to say. I didn't have any questions, but I felt really moved and inspired by all your stories. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Exona, for this kind reminder that yes, to be the peace believer. Okay, and then I see Alexandrina also posed a question that I will pass to the panelists, but then Alexandrina has a question whether then you can share any resources about peace building that had a huge impact on you, beside the one that you already mentioned. But I would say that maybe you don't have to tell it now, but as Laszlo proposed, you can share it also at the Facebook group, no? Which would be amazing, and maybe that could be also some kind of inspiring resource for the others. But thanks, Alexandrina, for that question. And also, is there anyone else who still would like to ask for something? Comment? If so, you can use the chat or just put the mic on and speak. Okay, if then there is no question coming, then I will take this time to post this one question, and then we can slowly go to the end unless there is something else. But then I wanted to ask you, all the speakers, whether you have any tips on how, like for young people, how to get further engaged in peace building. What would you advise? You can raise yourself. I will just put the mic on, no?
Maybe I can just give a couple of tips. I personally, just a couple of examples from the past, participated in more programs just to better understand peace building. YPC was like a great starting point for me that put this and established these foundations that are so strong. And then I participated in various programs to get the bigger sense of, let's say, how we can cooperate in terms of economy, environment, etc., etc. Then at the university, I started the Peace Builders Club, which was a platform for like-minded students to come together and to have a chance to talk about peace, where they would feel safe, sort of something like this Youth Peace Week that we had, but at my university. And there are also other ways, if you want also to dive into peace work, peace building on an academic level, you can look into universities as well. If anyone is interested to do their master's in peace studies, conflict studies, mediation, then you can just drop me a message later, and I can also share some good universities with you where you can get in-depth also academic knowledge. You can do, if you are into research, you can do research, and hopefully one day this research can also become a legal act. Why not? So I can share some links with you later.
Thank you, Anush. Okay. Anyone else?
I also wanted to add something, if possible.
Yes, so we have Chrissy and one more person that I don't know who was also speaking. Was it?
Was me.
Okay, so yes. Let's start with Chrissy and then.
So my tip is think big, but start small. So you can have a big vision of even organizing a youth peace club at your home country, but start small. It could be a conversation with a person in your family. It could be a presentation on your university, for your university on your experience on youth peace camp. It can be something very small, but make people aware that peace building exists and there are people who are dealing with it. So that's my tip.
Thank you, Chrissy. And now I will pass the floor to Nevena.
Yes, I mean, it's also like about small things, but actually big things, no?
So there is this one really nice quotation, a nice approach towards peace building is saying that like when you are engaged into peace building is actually exploration of that question, who am I? So this is how I like to approach it. And then I would say a tip would be ask yourself every day, who are you and what kind of world you want to live in? And then I think for me, the question is, I want to have peace with myself, society, environment, and et cetera, et cetera. So when I ask myself every day this question, then I am actually reflecting on that, what kind of acts I want to, how I want to behave, no? So this would be the tip from my side. Ask yourself these kind of questions, and then I think you will find your path into peace building, because it can be many things.
I will go next if it's okay. Agata?
I also see you, Jorge. Yes, go Gvantsa.
So first of all, my very first tip would be to believe in yourself that you can make a great impact. Once you believe in yourself, you start you can start getting already like educating yourself. You can start educating yourself in peace building, just to realize and to find out what is peace for you and how can you later on build the peace. It's very important. So once you start searching for the opportunities, online opportunities, which is like a lot now because of the situation, and also offline opportunities, and also peace camp, youth peace camp 2021 is coming, and all of you can apply who are relevant to the who are coming from the relevant country of youth peace camp. So try all the opportunities and organizations, huge organizations like Council of Europe, like offers to you, and start educating yourself in order to later on to share this knowledge and competencies to other people in your community and make a greater impact in world peace building. So yeah, just work on yourself, develop yourself, and later on like share all of this knowledge and competencies to other people. Because from my point of view, peace building and everything which is healthy and which is very much needed for today's societies comes from the raising awareness of yourself and the people around you. So education.
Thank you very much, Gvantsa. I will give the floor to Jorge.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, for answering this question, I want to say that basically actions to become peace builders, I think the first one was already done, no? That is you joining this week. And not only that, but putting your time and effort for hearing us. And I want to say that also we are, as was said, we are humans. We are young people like you. We are willing to be there, and we are also listening you. And we are, I mean, sadly we don't have all the time, but I am a person who loves to hear your story too. So I want to say that you can always approach us. I will put the us now here, but you can always approach us. We are super open. I am super open to answer your questions, to get to know you, and to be part of your projects or ideas or brainstorming. So we are reachable, no? Sometimes we say politicians are there and they don't hear us, but now we are here and we are young people and we are willing to hear you, no, and your ideas. I want to say that also what Thesia said, that talk to your family. For me, talking to my family is like the most complex part. And I always put myself this question of, I want to tell them, like when I use nonviolent communication, I use it with them. It does not work always. So it's hard, but it's challenging and it's super nice to see the effects, no? And also I want to bring back what Anush said, that it's about putting a backpack. And sometimes when I was reading these blogs about go hiking, take your own adventures, taking a step is easy. I mean, I want to tell you that to become a peace builder or to be one like you are now, it's as easy as taking the first step. I mean, your backpack can be empty and you can start to collect all the things that all this path is bringing you. And I think that's super nice to hear all these stories that came today, because I'm putting in my backpack more things today. And so thank you very much for joining and for making this. And finally, I want to end, as Nevenka also said, I want to end with a quote. It's from a friend of mine. Her name is Ebaba Hameidas. She's an activist. And she said, what is not heard does not exist. So be that person who raises the voice for others and for yourself. So become yourself the peace builder and do these small actions to make the change. So I will leave it there.
Agatha, we can't
We
hear
cannot hear you.
I
Agatha, we
think your
cannot hear
microphone
you.
is off.
I think she is doing this on purpose, no?
Agatha.
Agatha, your mic is off. Turn on your mic.
He's not heard.
She's
It's not there,
unable,
no?
I think. I think she's unable to.
We can do self work here. Don't worry. Well, thank you very much, me, for sharing. Laszlo, are you there?
Well, maybe I can also, while Agatha is, yeah, I can. Yeah, let's say that I'm very grateful for all of you for these stories. Thank you for joining us in this nice Saturday morning. It was great to hear the stories. I hope it was it was very inspiring for everybody who listened. I also wanted to tell that actually when organizing the Youth Peace Camp, we had the intention of inviting John Paul Lederach that Nevena was talking about. But unfortunately, for some family reasons, he was unable to join. But he expressed his willingness to join any other future activity. So in case you think that you have some projects that in which we could involve him, I will of course also keep it in my mind for the Youth Peace Camps, but maybe also for some local regional projects you might want to reach out to him, and then just let me or Ramon know, because we are in touch with him, and he's a truly inspiring person. And I think beside Galtung, who Greg Walker mentioned yesterday, he is the other person that we always also mention in or talk about in the Youth Peace Camp. So I think these are very important persons, and they have very important thoughts that one as a young peace builder have to really consider, and we can learn a lot from them. Good. I might also open a small chat in the Facebook group with all the speakers of today's session, so that maybe you can add links to further resources, as Alexandrina was asking. But yeah, we are also over time, so unless there is anything very, very important now that you want to ask or tell, I would like to say thanks for everybody who attended today, not only to the speakers, but also to all the others that listened and used this opportunity. Your presence is highly appreciated. Actually, that's one thing that I learned also this week, that it's very important to appreciate the people that are there and that spend their time and with attending such meetings and listening to each other. I think it's truly important. And yeah, I wish you a very nice rest of the weekend, and we hope to see you back on Monday morning. We will have a session with the European Youth Foundation, and also later a closing in the afternoon with Antje Rodemund, who is the head of the youth department, and also Rory from the advisory council. And also follow the e-learning, please. There is a lot to do there, and Agatha and Ramon are working very hard on having this available for you. Just to also confirm this message, we will prolong the e-learning for the next week, so you will have a full extra week to accomplish it. But still, I would say that if you find some time, go there, because it's worth it. And thank you, Agatha, also for being with us and the facilitation.
Yes,
and,
I am back.
You are back now, so you can say the
Yes.
5 words now.
Yes, no, I mean, thank you very much, Laszlo, also for taking the meeting over. I had really some technical issues, so couldn't hear you, but then thanks a lot for sharing. And yes, I think there is nothing else to add, and I'm super happy also that you said that here you are available for further story sharing. So I think we can continue this on the Facebook group. So thanks a lot for spending this Saturday morning together. Okay, have a nice day and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
Bye. It was so nice.
Thank you.